Welcome to Your Spiritual Besties podcast. I'm Lauren Leduc.
And I'm Rashida McCoy. We're here to laugh, cry, learn, and connect with you.
We discuss anything and everything from our everyday lives to the magical, mystical, and woo-woo.
So take a deep breath, grab a cup of tea,
and set an intention to receive, because you deserve it, bestie. Hi, Rashida.
Hey, Lauren. How are you today?
I'm really good. I just rolled out my mat and did like a few asanas before recording, so I feel grounded. I've been having to do yoga in these like really short stints lately because every time I do it, Gemma thinks that it's an invitation to play horsey.
What? You don't like the extra to your asanas, Lauren?
I mean, it has a time and place for sure, just not always, but like it can feel really good. I'll go into child's pose and she'll sit on my back and it's like I'm just getting a juicy assist. So I like it for like restorative, but not so much if I'm trying to flow a little bit because I'm afraid she's going to fall off of me.
So you're like in it and you're like jerking to make sure she's not going to like tilt forward. I remember doing that with Macy back when she loved hanging on me. Now she wants her own mat and we have to roll it out. And then she tells me like how to get into the pose. She's like, see, mommy, that's what she's doing. That's what we need to do. I'm like, all right, girl. I got it.
Maybe that's a future career choice for her. It was sweet. Like she kind of ignored me at first, then she asked for horsey, and then I was like sitting down and just breathing, and she put her hands at her heart and she chanted. She goes, Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Just like how you start Kundalini. Because I do like a Kundalini practice a couple times a week usually, and she likes to kind of act out part of it, but it was really sweet. So I'm sure this will pay off in dividends and I'll miss horsey time eventually, but yeah, that's what we're up to. How about you?
Oh, well, we had to push our recording time back because, I messaged you and I was telling you I was having a rough morning. Milesy Poo is getting 4 teeth in at the same time. They are coming in strong. And so last night and the night before, Mama has not gotten any sleep. I would probably say like 2 to 3 hours collectively, which is rough. Like dragging in the morning, but once I like get up, get my coffee, get my water in, like get him going, I feel pretty good. But that, and then so funny, Daniel was like, I can't do this tonight. I have to sleep. Like, what about me? So he like left me and went into the other room. So he's well rested, mind you.
Good for him.
But right? I'm like, oh, if only you could breastfeed too. This would be true partnership. But no, other than that, I feel really great. Macy is home with me. We're trying out her not popping in, but you might see her from time to time. But other than that, yeah, pretty good. The sun's shining, the birds are singing, the bees are buzzing, and it feels good outside. I feel the warmth on my skin. So it's a great day.
Okay, go off, Snow White.
Gratitude for all the things. I am here for it.
I love it. Well, speaking of self-care, we have an amazing guest with us today who's going to help us get our fitness and biz and souls aligned.
Ooh,
today we have yes. Today we have with us Kenya Burnett, and Kenya is a health and biz coach who helps women attain the body and business of their dreams. With an educational background in psychology, Kenya utilizes a holistic approach to wellness by helping her clients regulate their emotions, overcome their limiting beliefs, and develop new healthy habits. Hello, Kenya. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you. What an introduction.
That's all you. That is all you.
Yeah, you have yourself to thank for that. So we're so happy you're here, and we like to just dive deep right away. So our first question for you is, what is spirituality to you?
Oh, that's a great question. For me, it's looked different over the years. And right now, I'll say it's feeling aligned and feeling connected to myself. When that is happening, I feel my most as my, spiritual self. So yeah, connection, alignments, I feel are synonymous with spirituality.
Mm.
Yeah. I know you help women connect with themselves. Um, what do you think what is the reason for focusing, I suppose, on fitness and the body? How does the focus on that help someone feel more aligned and connected with themselves?
Mm. Yeah. So for me and majority of the women I work with, this path of spiritual awakening for a lot of us start with our body. In some cases, it might be because we are having issues with our body. Maybe we're diagnosed with something. My job is to help women before it gets to that point. But majority of us that are on this path typically start with feeling into our body. And when we connect with our body, it opens up this like box of so many other things that we're able to tap into. And so tapping into our body really allows us to connect. And like I said, I think the more we can connect, the more spiritual we can become.
So I know for Rashida, her spiritual awakening started more with like fitness and personal development and then rolled into, yeah, her awakening, which we talk about in another episode. So I find the connection really, really interesting. And I know when I've worked with clients, I'm a yoga teacher, that even if their body, quote unquote, is an issue, there's always a lot of stuff going on underneath. So having someone like you or like me even, or Rashida, she's a body worker who can address like things holistically and mind, body, and spirit is absolutely essential. How long have you been training women?
Oh, so I've been officially about a little over 3 years. It's when I started Beyond the Physical. Um, I've been an athlete my entire life. And more than that, my educational background is in psychology. And so I'm well versed in trauma. And in the last, I don't know, maybe 6 years, really dove into exactly how trauma impacts our body. So that's actually
Mm.
what got me onto the spiritual path is not necessarily wanting to change anything about my body per se. It was more so, how the heck do I heal some of this trauma? Learning that my body might be storing some of it. So like, let me dive into that. And that's kind of how this whole thing started.
So did you like have like generally a spiritual awakening at some point and then you were like, ooh, there's this connection? How did that come about?
Yeah. So a little background.
Yeah,
I
go for it.
I struggled with really intense anxiety
Mm,
for my entire life. I mean, it was debilitating to the point where I was hyperventilating several times a week, and that was normal for me. It was normal to have these types of episodes. And on rare occasion, I would hyperventilate so badly that I would end up passing out because there wasn't enough oxygen coming to my brain. In 2017, I had another episode, I call it. It was very, very minor issue. I was in a disagreement with my ex at the time, nothing even serious, but I allowed it to get to me. And I started going into an anxiety attack, hyperventilating, and passing out. Except for this time, when I passed out, I fell towards the corner of my living room table. And when I came out of it, I was mortified and scared because I could have really hurt myself. And I called my mom, and she's typically very calming and very, okay, it's all going to be all right, sweetheart. But this time she wasn't. She was angry. And she said, if you don't do something about this anxiety, you're going to have a heart attack before you're 30. And something about that, it just clicked in my head. Like that was the start of my spiritual awakening because it was the biggest awareness I had around
mm.
just how scary my anxiety had gotten. So that was the start of it. And I thought, okay, well, I don't know what to do to heal this anxiety. I didn't want to go on medication at that time. I still am not on it. I didn't want to go on it. Despite being in the field, I thought there has to be something else. And so I thought, okay, well, I feel good when I'm in the gym. So let me just commit to that.
I love that. Okay, so you just started off with really tapping into where you felt your best.
Mhm.
And that was like getting in your body, working out physically. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So if let's say, we have a listener who is dealing with anxiety, and obviously there are more layers to that. Would you recommend that they, find that one thing that they feel where they feel good and go start there?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I appreciate about my journey is having the knowledge from psychology and from having that perspective, and also, having the perspective of an athlete and a wellness coach. And I have this blend of the two. When it comes to anxiety, there's a lot to it. Like you said, there's a lot that goes into anxiety, and telling someone to, just relax or whatever, I mean, that's not helpful. It doesn't do anything for us, for those of us that have truly struggled with anxiety. And so what I always suggest is control your controllables. So what is it that you can control that has been proven time and time again to make us feel good? So that's sunshine, that's exercise, that's drinking more water. So doesn't matter if you do all three of those things at once or if you just start with one, but control your controllables and lead into some of these things that, finally is becoming more mainstream to talk about. And I can guarantee you're going to feel exponentially better. And even just starting with water, drinking more water, like, wow, I feel a little bit better. Okay, now let me add in some getting more sunshine a day. Oh, wow, I feel a little bit better. And, if for someone that's going to the gym or moving their body or practicing yoga, then yeah, start with that too.
I
Mm.
think when we're in a difficult place with our mental health or dealing with anxiety, just covering the basics can be super difficult. So those little reminders are so important. Drink water, go outside, move your body. It sounds so simple, but they are truly healing. I'd love to know if you can explain to us how trauma and anxiety are related. Um, Sorry, let me just throw a bunch of questions into one. And I'd also love to know, like, holistically, what else you have done to support yourself through this journey of healing.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So, trauma, okay. Trauma or any events that happen in our life. And I want to say something too, because I've worked with many women who have experienced what we call, big T traumas. This is more my story: rape, poverty, single parent home, all of that. And we have our little T traumas. This could be something like being bullied in school. This could be having a helicopter parent kind of question every single thing that you do. These are still traumas. And so I want to say, before I answer that question, every single one of us has experienced trauma. And whether you've experienced a big T trauma or a little T trauma, it can be equally damaging when gone unhealed. So that's a really important thing to know, because oftentimes I've worked with women who say, well, I didn't have that bad of a life, so it's okay that I have, like, I should have this anxiety. I don't have any reason to, work on it or lean into it. And my answer to that is always no. We've all experienced trauma in some degree. Now, anxiety, for me at least, really started at a super young age. And for me, it was not being able to understand some of these big things that were happening around me. So some of these big traumatic experiences that I was having, a 5-year-old doesn't understand it, a 6-year-old doesn't understand it. So what happens is our brains go, you know what? This is way too big for your little mind to hold. I'm just going to store it somewhere else. You can revisit it later and release it. Now, as you can imagine, we're not conceptually understanding that at 5 and 6 years old. And so we grow up, and the more traumas we experience, for me, it manifested as more anxiety buildup in my body, which is how those two are related. Forgot the second part of your question.
Yeah, I'm wondering, besides, diving into your fitness journey in the gym, what other things have been helpful in your healing journey?
Yeah. So for me, it really started with my breath. Before I started practicing breath work as, the way we know it now, I would actually just do this thing in college. It was like, I didn't really know why I was doing it. I didn't know anything about breath work, but it made me feel good. And so I really leaned into that the last several years of, okay, why is it that my breath is making me feel so much better? Especially when I'm intentional about the breath work that I'm doing. So breath work is a huge practice that I incorporate in my life and I teach my clients. But more than that, or equal to that, is meditation and journaling. Those are the three big pieces, holistically speaking, that we incorporate in Beyond the Physical and that I practice personally. Because for someone with an anxious mind, we can get really caught up in our head with a lot of thoughts. And when we have too many thoughts, we forget that not all of our thoughts are true. We get to a point where, like, oh my gosh, all of these thoughts are true. And so for me, I like to get all those thoughts out of my head and onto paper. So journaling has been a practice I've done for at least 15 years. It's looked different over the years. Um, but that is one of the most healing things that I have found works for so many of the clients that I've worked with. And when it comes to journaling, it doesn't need to be this, most people say, I don't even know what to say. It's like, well, you don't have to say anything. You just take out a piece of paper and whatever comes to your mind. If you want to get it out on paper, get it out on paper. Sometimes I write lists for what I need to do for the day, and that's my journaling. Sometimes I need to word vomit whatever my dream was about, and I do that. Journaling is really, really healing. And then lastly, the meditation piece. And again, meditation doesn't need to look anyway. For some of my clients, meditation looks like surfing. I live in Orange County, so we're right here by the beaches. For some of my clients, that means going out into the ocean and surfing. For some of my clients, that means sitting, crisscross applesauce with music on in the background and incense burning. So it's really different for everybody. But those are the three biggest holistic practices that we incorporate in our fitness program.
Thanks so much for sharing all that. I'd love to know more about Beyond the Physical. When and how did you start it?
So Beyond the Physical started in 2020. I started my own fitness journey really 2019. I had been an athlete, but after college, things you kind of forget, So I was really unhappy with my own body and the way I was feeling, and dove into my fitness journey in 2019. And during that time, I was training my friends for fun. I was kind of known as the workout guru when I was a senior social worker for CPS. And so I would train my coworkers, I would train my friends. And I don't even know what changed, but I thought, wow, I felt so much better after going through my own physical transformation that I knew other people needed to experience this. And I had a really good friend of mine, and she encouraged me to start online coaching. I wasn't a personal trainer before. I had no real business in being in the fitness space. I was in the therapy space, but I thought, okay, let me do it. I hired an online coach, started working with him, and started, Beyond the Physical in January of 2020. And then 2 months later, the pandemic happens. And I thought, oh gosh, I don't even know how this is going to look. And as crazy as those few years were, it definitely did wonders for my business. I mean, whether you were a frequent gym goer or not, we were all trapped at home and we were all struggling, not just physically because our gyms are closed and we don't really know how we can move our body, but our mental health was skyrocketing during 2020 because all of us didn't know what was going on. And so I ended up having a really quick start to my business. And by March, I had a full roster, and I ended up leaving my government job by the end of that year.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That goes to show like how it's not just about the physical actions of the body, but you really incorporating both what you know from your psychology space to into like the physical fitness space. It's so potent, having a knowledge about like emotions and what people are going through and how you can really support them as well as because I know sometimes when we do certain therapies or, we just get part of the picture. And like for me as a massage therapist, somebody will come to me and say, "Oh, this is bothering me. Will massage help take care of this?" And I can say, absolutely, it will help. However, maybe a physical therapist, right? Maybe another type of modality will help. And being able to like marry all that, like, how awesome is that for your clients? That's like really, really potent. That's amazing.
It's thank you. And I have goosebumps as you were saying that because it reminded me of just how needed this type of work is. Like it really is all encompassing. For me, when I say holistic and people say, what is holistic? I say it's a whole person centered approach. That's all it is. Holistic could look different for everybody. But for me, it's incorporating mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. That is what a holistic fitness program means to me. And of course, I can't blur the lines as a coach. I'm out of the therapist space. So if there's an issue that I feel therapist or someone else might be better on, then I would definitely refer my clients out. But yeah, having that umbrella of I want to lose weight. Okay, great. Like let's start there. But to me, I'm like, we're gonna go way deeper than that.
There's so much more than that, like getting to
Yeah.
that root cause. And you are absolutely correct because Lauren mentioned it before, like getting into the physical fitness and weight loss was kind of also what sparked my spiritual awakening along with, having my daughter. And everyone I would like come into, it was just about like losing the weight. It was just about like the number. There was no other like support when it came to like the why, right? The why. And even going beyond like the why, like what is it about yourself that's making you hold on to this? Like what are these habits? Where are they coming from? How can you help yourself through this? And we have so much access to technology and connection, right? Via the internet, but sometimes it's so much deeper than that. And we still need like those people assisting and helping to like uncover all of that, not just being surface level. That was like, I feel like the biggest thing for me when I stepped into the online space and really like started this whole journey with personal development. Everything just always seemed so just superficial, like on the
Mhm.
surface. And me,
Mhm.
my archetype is like a nurturer. And so I like craved like that deeper connection, even with myself, but I didn't know how to do it. So
Mm.
again, like that's awesome that you have that in your tool belt to like help your clients and even like refer them where they need to go,
Mhm.
taking that holistic approach, like
Mm.
honestly and truly.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the biggest things that we see in both the fitness space, but also in my time as a therapist before, is working with women with some form of binge eating history, or maybe it's restrictive history. So I have a lot of clients that'll come to me for that. And I always say, with that example, let's say binge eating out. And for someone to binge eating and overeating, those are two different things. But for the most part, I'll have someone say, I can't lose weight. I like to snack. I can't stop snacking. I'm an overeater. Okay. And they think that it's a food problem. They think that they have a problem with food. I said, you don't have a food problem. We have a behavioral problem. So we need to understand that behavior. And to your point, why are we engaging in that behavior? What's happening internally? And so what I do with majority of my clients within their first month of the program, especially, in this example, I just like to snack. Okay, let's start taking note of when we're snacking. They come back to me in their next week's check-in. Oh my gosh, I notice that I snack every single time my mother-in-law calls. Or I start to snack every single time I am starting to think about what I have to do tomorrow, right? So, okay, so now we're getting somewhere. We know that it's not a food problem. We know that it's not that you can't control yourself. It's that we need to understand why that's triggering you. What is happening internally so that we can change our habits so that our physical ends up changing externally as well.
Mm. I love
Yeah.
I love that holistic approach, and I think it's so beautiful that you have the background in psychology. I know, like I do work with trauma myself, just from a yoga standpoint, and for those who have heard of like the ACEs score, adverse childhood
Mhm.
experiences, like that
Mhm.
started off as a study on obesity.
Mhm.
And really the common denominator that they found while studying these people who were having a hard time controlling their weight was these traumatic childhood experiences. So someone who's helping you with your fitness and nutrition, for them to actually understand that there are root causes and not just trying to put a Band-Aid over the situation or like exercise you into a better mindset is so
Yeah.
important. So besides looking out for triggers, what are other ways that you help clients change their mindset?
So we really start with just setting healthy habits. One of the biggest things that I teach my clients when they are on their wellness journey is not just establishing new healthy habits, but it's also recognizing the habits that we engage in that aren't helping us or aren't serving us, and then slowly replacing those. So one of the things that we start our clients off with doing is following what I call the Fantastic Four. So the Fantastic Four includes our water. So how much water are we drinking a day? I always recommend drinking at least 85 to 100 ounces of water a day. The next is our steps. So this indicates just how much we're moving our body. It's we say, oh, hit 10,000 steps or 5,000 steps or whatever, but really it's just an indicator of how much is your body moving. What I recommend is 8 to 10,000 steps a day. The next is our sleep. So sleep plays a massive role in our body's distribution of cortisol. And so if we are talking to an individual like myself who struggle with really high anxiety, it means there's a lot of cortisol running through your body. So we need to do everything we can to minimize that. And the best way is to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And the last is stress management. Stress management is huge, again, with the cortisol. If we aren't allowing our body to regulate our stressors, it doesn't matter if you're working out 5 days a week. It doesn't matter if you're eating clean. You're not going to lose any fat. You're not going to see much change in your body if your stress is unmanaged. So the Fantastic Four is how we start our clients off. And that looks different for everyone depending on where they're at in their health journey.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's really interesting. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. And Kenya, you were in the same class as us at Dharma Coaching Institute. And I'd love to know what got you interested in the soul purpose work and how do you now incorporate that into your business?
Yeah. So it's a funny story because I was a bodybuilder. And when I was competing near my very last show, I was not into it at all. I was like, this isn't me anymore. I love bodybuilders. I have so much appreciation for bodybuilders, but it didn't feel like I wasn't aligned with it anymore. And so I thought, okay, I feel like what my calling is to still help people be their healthiest, happiest self. But I don't know if it's through fitness coaching. So my mind was it was honestly a cluster because I'm like, well, oh gosh, I just dropped everything, left my government job, started to be a fitness coach. And now I'm like, I don't know if I should be a fitness coach. So I said, maybe I should go back into like this therapy space without being the therapy space. Coaching. Okay, let me coach. I had been listening to Sahara's podcast and fell in love with everything that she was saying. And it felt just so aligned with me. And so I saw that they had this coaching institute. I joined it and then, did the mastermind. So I was working with them for the last year. And there were a lot of road bumps and a lot of roller coaster rides and flips and ups and downs. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. And, fast forward over a year now, I wouldn't consider myself a Dharma coach, which is funny because I went through the program. However, it did help me see that there were so many other women who had such special gifts and wanted to share those gifts with the world in a way that we were never taught. Now, I started my business from scratch and I did exceptionally well. I looked at building my business the same way I built my body. And that's it. And so I thought, okay, well, if I can help some of these women start their online businesses, then I'm going to do that. And it actually wasn't anything I was looking for. It kind of just fell into my lap. I started to, acquire a lot of our fellow classmates as clients, but they were asking me about business. And so there's been a lot of shifts happening within BETP, but now we do have a program. It's called the Elite Coaching Program. And this program includes our fitness program, which is, everything that it has, in addition to me business coaching them on just how they can start their business. And all of my business clients are in the healing holistic space. And, majority of them came from DCI.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And like unexpected and like such the best way. And I think that's the biggest thing about like going through a program like that. You're like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm going to do. Like we say, oh, I'm going to be a soul's purpose coach or a Dharma coach even before we know the material, right? But going through getting the material learning, it's more like of that like internal like change that allows you to become what it is that you feel like you want to do. It like gives you that permission and permission to like be whatever it is. When you said we're trying to bring things to the world that we were never taught to do, like that is huge because I feel like a lot of us, when we think about our dharma or our purpose, it has to look like something else that's already out there. And like going through DCI gave a lot of us permission that we could do whatever the fuck we want to do and the way in which we want to do it. And having someone like you, not only with all the background, but also the business aspect, I mean, that's amazing. What amazing support, what amazing way to like help lift other people. And that is exactly what we talk about, like shining your light so other people can shine theirs. I know sometimes when we talk spirituality, it's like a lot of people think, oh, it's woo-woo, but like it's that and more. Like we also have to bring it back to the physical too, like the cut and dry and the black and white. And you like encompass all of that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because majority of the coaches that I work with, they say, okay, well, shoot, am I a life coach? Am I a Dharma coach? Am I this? Am I a soul's purpose coach? And I go, I don't know. Let's figure it out. Like let's figure out the type of coach you are. And, some of the women I've worked with, I have one client and we've deemed her as just the hype coach. She's like, I just hype people up. I don't know how to, and I'm okay, then you're a hype coach. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, we're talking about spirituality. We're talking about embodiment. We're talking about alignment, but what you're doing is you're helping them feel heightened about their life. You're hyping them up about their life. So you're a hype coach. Okay, done. And it's funny because she's like, well, there's no such thing as a hype coach. I'm like, well, yes, there is. Like we're
now
creating
there
it.
is. Yeah.
So it's those types of experiences that make me love, becoming this business coach that I didn't necessarily think I was going to be, but here we are.
Man, I'd love to know, like, what would you tell yourself like 10 years ago if your 10-year-old self were to like see a glimpse of your current situation now? Like, I would love to know what would that conversation like be like?
Definitely a couple of things. One, like fuck a plan because you never know where the plan's going. So, and I say that laughing, but I also say that because that was a huge reason why I had so much anxiety. I was a 3, 5, and a 10-year planner. And, I'm a Capricorn sun. I am a teacher archetype. I am a pizza through and through if you haven't gotten that yet. And so for me, planning, organization, I mean, that was very much what was steering my life. And then when things hit you sideways, your plan kind of goes out the window. And so I would definitely tell my, 10 years ago self, just take it day by day, follow your heart and listen to your intuition. Instead of thinking really, I mean, I guess in summer, get out of your head and drop into your heart. That's what I wish I knew.
Yeah. Isn't that like what we're all trying to do, like ultimately? And it just takes us so much to like come to that realization. But I love that like the thing that you would tell your, older version is not like all this like elaborate whatever. It's like simple, just stop thinking about it. Get
Yeah.
into your body, like feel what is your heart saying?
Yeah.
And ultimately that's like how we get to live our dharmas, right? Like following our heart and where it wants to take us.
Yeah.
Man, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a hard thing to do in theory, but it's not. And what's important to remember is that every single one of us is gifted in this way.
Mm,
Every single one of us has the ability to connect with ourselves. The problem is that we live in such a stimulating world that we forget how to listen to ourselves.
hmm
We forget how to connect with ourselves. And so that's why it's so important. And something I teach my clients is, it's a part of their program to do self-care, and not talking about self-care like go get your nails done or whatever. That's nice too. I'm talking about go have an intentional 20 to 90-minute session with yourself every single day. And for some of my clients, that means utilizing plant medicine. For some of my clients, that means telling dad, hey, you got to watch the kids for the next 20 minutes. Don't even bother me. If something's going on, figure it out. Right. Like that's something that I say, this is a part of your protocol. This is a part of your program working with me, because you have to have that intentional time with yourself. When you do, you'll connect with yourself. You'll hear yourself, and you'll drop into your heart, and then you'll get all the answers that you need.
I think that's so beautiful, and it really ties everything together. And, I would say the same thing to myself, let's say 15 years ago. And at the same time, if I would have said drop into your heart, like would I have been able to listen? Like, yes, but it's through all the noise internally
Mm-hmm.
and externally. So really getting into the body first is
Mm-hmm.
such a good way to release some of that noise, some of that static, and to like truly be able to hear yourself, especially when you're approaching it mindfully and with
Mm-hmm.
like I guess spirituality and greater things in mind than just like maybe creating a specific aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'd love to ask for myself. So yeah, fitness has taught me so much. I was a dancer growing up, and then became a ad, a, the word is escaping me. Do a lot of yoga, we'll put it that way, and teach yoga. I learned how to like weightlift a few years ago. And as like a single woman, or not a single, a married woman who was a business owner without children, I had this routine built up that was like hours long every day, and it was
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And that was what helped me feel aligned and connected. Now I don't have that time. I'm still a business owner, and now I'm a mom too. And I have to like fit in fitness through my day and like constantly adapt it to what she is able to do. Like, we used to do a lot of walks in the stroller, but then she decided she didn't like that at a certain point, and it's constantly trying to figure out the routine. I'd say like for someone who is very short on time, what would like a really potent and effective routine look like?
Such a great question. And I actually did a poll on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago, specifically to mothers. And I said, what is the number one struggle you have when it comes to hitting your fitness goals? 100% was time. So
mm.
this is clearly something that a lot of mamas are struggling with. And what I do with my clients, I work with many mothers, many single mothers too. And the number one important thing to know is that your cup, we hear this all the time, but bear with me, your cup has to be filled first. Your cup is not filled, you have zero anything to pour into your child. And when you look at it that way, you understand the severity of taking care of yourself. So the next question would be, okay, well, how can I, get a workout in when I have, unruly children or whatever? And my response is to find what works for you. Some of my mom clients literally work out for 15 minutes a day. That's it. Some of them make time. They set a time. They bring their kids to the gym. They maybe have them stay at the play. A lot of gyms nowadays have, supervision for the children, and then they can do their full hour workout. But for some of my clients, it starts off with just 15 minutes a day. It starts off with, while you're cleaning the dishes, you're doing squats. It starts off with, while you're watching your child play, you put on a booty band and you just start, doing some standing abductors or something. Like, it's the smallest things that start to build these habits. And also, I love what you said about the stroller, right? You're taking her on your walks with you. I can't even tell you how many of my clients, their children are now in love with exercise, which to me, that's my, like, okay, my job is done here. Like, I'm good, because that is what is most important, is that we are breaking these generational traumas, yes, but also these generational habits. And so if little ones seeing mom move their body, get excited about drinking water, what are they going to do? They're just going to mimic you. And now you're setting your child up for a much healthier life. And they're not going to have to go through a lot of these health struggles that we did, especially those of us that weren't taught how to live a healthy life. So it's just doing what you can, making it work for yourself. And if you can, depending on the age of your child, bring them with you. Hey, mommy's going to go work out. Mommy's going to go move her body, feel good. So, because when I feel good, I can live a long time and I'll have so much energy to play with you later. Do you want to come move your body with me? And like, our kids love it. The kids love it. It's so much fun to see.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. Like Rashida and I, when we first got on today, we're talking about like rolling out a mat for Macy and Gemma wanting to play horsey, but jumping on my back. And it's true. And we've had this discussion before because, man, it's so jarring, like becoming a mother, and then you have to change so many habits.
Yeah.
And yeah, it gets way harder to work out with a kid around, even if you're, unless they just like love the daycare at the gym or something like that. There's just always going to be like a little bit of tension and struggle there. But you're right, it's so worth it in the end because you're modeling healthy habits for them. You don't have to teach them to exercise or to enjoy exercise or water or being outside. It's just incorporated into daily life. And it's such a
Part of who you
beautiful
are.
thing.
Mhm.
I think there has to
Yeah.
be, well, like a lot of things in motherhood, an acceptance, especially in the first few years, that things are just going to be a little bit harder and they're going to be different than what they used to look like. And, if my body doesn't look as sculpted as it did in 2020, before I got pregnant, for now, maybe ever, we'll see. That's okay.
Mhm.
What matters is that I have energy, that
Yeah.
I am loving myself, and that I'm connected
Mhm.
and aligned. So I really
Yeah, and
appreciate
it's
that.
actually, yeah, it's true too with a lot of my clients who are mothers, specifically mothers to like young children. One of the biggest things that we focus on is patience, and we typically will set goals outside, out patience with ourselves, right? Like,
Mhm.
patience with ourselves. It's okay, like to your point, Lauren. It's okay that it's going to take me a little bit longer maybe to get to where I want to be or to hit this goal weight or whatever. It's okay that it's going to take a little bit longer. You have a much greater responsibility than, losing weight as fast as you possibly can. So with my clients who have young children, we actually tend to focus on other health goals first. So typically someone will come to me and they say, okay, well, I want to lose 25 pounds, or I want to hit this goal weight, or I want to, get to this dress size. I say, okay, great. For a lot of my mom clients, though, our first couple goals have to do with, oh, this is really for everyone, but specifically the moms. How do you want to feel? Like you said, I want to have more energy in my day. Okay, what's another goal? I don't want to have a 3 p.m. coffee. Okay, great. Third goal, okay, I want to lose 25 pounds in the next, 3 months or 4 months or 6 months or whatever. So we kind of base it off of that. And when you don't put that pressure on yourself of, I need to lose 20 pounds, and instead I just want to feel more energized, you're going to feel so much more excited about your health journey. You're not going to beat yourself up if you don't go to the gym for 60 minutes a day, 7 days a week. And those are the things that are actually going to help you get to your goal much faster and with much more ease.
I agree with that so much, only because I was there a little while ago after Macy. And you're right. I feel like in the beginning, it was becoming obsessed with like the number, right? Stepping on the scale all the time, feeling disappointed. even not having the knowledge that your body's going to change, and just because maybe you gained some weight back doesn't necessarily mean that that was fat that came back on,
Mhm.
right? Especially if you're lifting and doing all the things. Um, and like that surrender part that you're talking about, I feel like surrender comes up often. Like when Lauren and I talk, it's always about surrendering, having that patience, but just letting go of like the numerical outcome. And again, really tapping into like the body piece. I
Mhm.
remember I wasn't so much worried about the number after a while. It was more so, oh man, like seeing how far I was able to like push my body, how strong I was getting, how far I could walk. Just like falling in love with like those things, realizing like, dang, I killed this 100-ounce water goal that I had. Okay, that's
Mhm.
cool. It wasn't about the number anymore. It was about all the other things that just made me feel really good and lit me up to the point where I stopped weighing in every other day. It went to like every week and then every other week because I was able to like see it and feel it in my body and not have like the scale tell me.
Absolutely. The number on the scale is like my biggest challenger, like as a health coach. That scale, and it's frustrating because from a coach's perspective, I look at it as just data. Like I need the data to help you with the numbers, how much you should be eating, whatever. However, if the number is getting into your head so much that you actually end up not doing the things that we want you to do, then I say like, fuck the scale and like, let's not even step on it. I have a client, she just graduated from my program. She worked with me for 2 years and she had a pretty large weight loss goal. And from the beginning, I said, okay, I want you to know this is going to take some time. Okay. What is your relationship with the scale? She's like, well, I don't really have a great relationship. I step on it all the time. When I step on it, I don't like it. I say, okay, you know what? For the first couple of months of the program or a couple of weeks of the program, I'm going to have you step on the scale every 2-3 weeks just because I need to collect data. But other than that, I don't want you stepping on it. Don't sneak a step. Don't do anything. Long story short, she just graduated. She's 90 pounds down. Her name is Candace. And when we looked back at her graph, she lost 1 to 2.5 pounds every single week for the entire 2 years that we were working together. And if it weren't for all of the other healthy habits that she was forming and the mindset that we were building, she would have given up a year and a half ago when she saw, oh my gosh, I'm just losing 1 pound a week. But here we are, 2 pound, 2 years later, 90 pounds down. She has a night and day difference of a life. And her relationship with the scale is better than ever. So it's one of those things you have to look long term, big picture, and not so much, oh my gosh, the scale went up 1 pound this week. This isn't working. I'm just going to stop doing what I was doing. We need to get that mindset out and the mindset in of, you know what? It's just a number. It's just data for me to be collecting. And I'm going to actually pay more attention to how am I feeling? How are my clothes fitting? Is my skin getting more clear? Is my hair getting more long? These are the things that we like to look at to really indicate true health progress.
Yeah. Yeah, which is so true. We come from an age of like now, lose the weight right now, lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. And I don't, granted, it can happen for some, right? But I also think too, if you're not addressing like that mindset piece, that's why it's so easy to like bounce back to where you were as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing too. And so many people they want to say, one of the reasons I like the way we operate at Beyond the Physical is because we don't have a masculine approach. I was a bodybuilder, so I get the masculine approach. I get it. Work out. If you're tired, doesn't matter. Your dreams are more important. Your body's whatever. That's like okay, but like
Yes.
it's like I'm also stressed out. I have 2 children. I have a full-time business. Like there's so many other things that we want to focus on than like do. And it's more like, okay, well, who can I be in order to have this life that I want to have and feel the way that I want to feel? So yeah, it's crazy. The masculine approach to fitness, like it needs to well, it could just stay, like one sector, and I'll stay in my other sector.
Well, I want to add too that it just typically doesn't work in the long term for women. And like we're
Mhm.
sold all that bullshit for a reason. It's because these
Mhm.
companies want to make money, obviously. And
Mhm.
yeah, do their products work in the short term or do their
Mhm.
strategies? Yes, but are they going to maybe ruin our metabolism in the long term? Yeah, are they
Mhm.
going to not address like any psychological or emotional aspects behind, our habits and behaviors? Yeah, they're
Mhm.
not. So all they want to do is like keep us in this yo-yo cycle of like gaining and
Mhm.
losing weight so that we'll just keep buying shit. And so Kenya, I
Yeah.
appreciate your more like, I'll say holistic, but just realistic approach.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I think people want to see that those quick results, but like nothing like really worth attaining happens that quickly. We have to play the long
Yeah.
game.
Absolutely. And one of the sayings they have in BTP is, we cannot change the body without first changing the mind. So we have to start with the mind. We have to start with the way that we are thinking. And I know now it's a popular um everyone says change your mindset, change your mindset. And I'm like, yes, but if we want to change our mindset, we actually need to know how to change the mind.
Mm,
We need to understand as coaches how to deconstruct these negative thought patterns and reconstruct new healthy habits. That, and probably I'll credit my educational background, which I thought, oh gosh, I can't believe I'm leaving the corporate world. My degrees don't mean anything, but this is when I remind myself that they do. Because telling someone to just change their mindset doesn't really do much unless you know how the mind works. So, I mean, that's a whole other thing that we could talk about like a whole different day, but really deconstructing some of these negative thought patterns and establishing new, firing and wiring
the
new
pathways.
circuitry in our brain. That's how we actually get to change. So change the mind, and then your body's going to change second to that.
Yeah, I love that so much because, again, before my spiritual awakening and spiritual awareness, I was heavy in the personal development space. And I talked about this in my spiritual awakening episode, but it felt empty after a while. Like I went to the conferences and I felt really good. And I was, doing the online things and I was following these people, but there was just something about it that just wasn't, I don't want to say like lasting, but it again, like just the superficial part. Oh, change your habits, change your life. Okay, great. You're telling me to do this, but you're not telling me how to do this. You're telling me what you're doing, but you're not giving me the tools in order to like really affect change in my life. And then at the end of the day, or after 2 months, or 3 months, or 6 months, when I'm back in the same place, I feel like shit. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the problem is me. And yes, it is me, but it's not a problem that I can't fix. I just don't have the right tools. And so then I'm
Mm-hmm.
bouncing around to all these different type of like personal development teachers. Maybe their way of doing things will work. Maybe their way of doing things will work. And it doesn't because it's
Mm-hmm.
not me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the whole picture.
Yep.
Having someone on the stage and telling me X, Y, and Z, yes, it's going to get me fired up, but it's not the whole picture. I can't take that like motivation and
Mm-hmm.
keep it like in a box with me the whole time because
Mm.
I have to work on all that internal stuff too. And I think that was like the biggest catalyst for me to like push past like personal development and
Mm-hmm.
into like digging deeper into myself and like being like, okay, Rashida, there's nothing wrong with you, but there's something more to this.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that
Yeah.
more? Like that curiosity. And that, is what propelled me this way. But a lot of people, they get
Mm.
stuck in this like loop, I feel like. And so,
Totally. Oh my goodness, yes. And everything like yes, 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 because I was totally me as well. I was heavy in the personal development. I mean, Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, like
yes,
these were the people I
yes,
love to listen
yes.
to. And you get excited, right? And then you like do the things. And then yeah, 2, 3 months later, like, hey, well, hold on, nothing actually changed. And so they're great. They're great teachers, they're great leaders in their space. I decided to go a little bit of a different route. I'm a huge Dr. Joe Dispenza fan. I'm a huge Michael Pollan fan, and these are the types of books and mentors that I like to listen to. And they are talking about how to actually the how to you're talking about how to change your mind.
Mm,
So for any of your listeners too, if you are like, okay, I need the how to, highly recommend looking into any book of Dr. Joe Dispenza. If you're not a reader, you could watch the documentary Heal on Netflix. That's a really good one. Michael Pollan, I don't know if any of your listeners are into plant medicine or psychedelics, but he is really great. He has a book called How to Change Your Mind. It's all about psychedelics and really what's happening on a neurocircuitry perspective. Um, and yeah, I mean, the how to is the most important thing. And that's exactly what we teach our clients. It's like, okay, how do we actually do this?
Yeah, this is amazing, and thank you for the resources because I know a lot of people get really excited about this. I know for me too, part of me like I'm really excited that we're really starting to look at some of these plant medicines as not being bad and banned and how it can like really help. Just a little personal thing. Daniel and I are looking into some stuff as well because we're like, we want to take the, ourselves to the next level and elevate. So I'm really excited to like get that book from Michael Pollan. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that resource.
Yeah.
But yeah, the how to, man, the how to is like the thing. And it makes you, it gives you more empowerment once you were locked into the right spaces. And like I said, some people they do really well with those other teachers,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes some of us need a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
of that how to.
Mm-hmm. And those, mentors and teachers, the ones I'm just, sharing now. Bessel van der Kolk is also another one that I want to mention. He is the author of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. And so for, kind of tying it back to what we talked about earlier with anxiety and trauma, he talks about how trauma is trapped in our body. So when you want to heal, you have to address your trauma. And he really beautifully outlines how to do that. He actually, fun fact about him, was one of the authors of the Diagnostic Statistics Manual. It's called the DSM. It's what we as psychiatrists use to diagnose patients. So it's a book, you open it up. Okay, you have all these things. Boom, you are depressed. Okay, you have all these things. You are, whatever. And so it's so amazing to see him write this book now saying, oh, geez, it is so much more than just a list of things. Our body is quite literally holding on to every experience that we've had. And so Bessel van der Kolk is incredible. So that's something that I just wanted to mention. But yeah, the how to from these perspectives help us connect. And it's instead of do, rah, rah, rah. It's okay, tap in. This is how to drop into your heart. And so once we're there, then it's like this floodgate of endless opportunity.
Yeah, I think all those resources are super helpful and important, and having a roadmap is incredibly
Mm,
helpful. What I also like is your more feminine approach where like I have a feeling, Kenya, you're giving your clients the tools and then allowing them to be in their own experience with it.
Mhm.
Instead of, yeah, being like the bro
Mhm.
coach of like, you're gonna do it now in my
Yeah.
exact way and blah, blah,
push,
Yeah.
push,
blah.
Yeah.
push.
Yeah,
You don't want it hard enough.
That's
because
exactly it.
yeah,
Sorry, Lauren.
no, it's hilarious. And it's just, it's a empowering thing to be in relationship with these tools and to have the autonomy and authority to explore them how we wish and to see
Mm,
what works and what doesn't. And it's an
Mhm.
honor to be like a guide or a coach in the
Mhm.
space of like witnessing someone's journey in that way instead of like hyper controlling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
mm,
it's true. And to Rashida's point, the raw, like, do it or you don't want it bad enough. And you're like, but damn, I do want it bad, but something has happened. There's a block. Like, hold
Mhm.
on. Like, it's not that I don't want it. It's that there's something else. And so I take each of my clients, from an individual basis. If someone needs a little bit more of that tough love, I can provide it, but I am in no way, shape, or form a heavy masculine, do this or you clearly don't want to lose weight bad enough type of approach. It's very much, okay, why are we having these blogs? I'm going to give you these questions, give you these resources and tools, and then I'm going to allow you to sit with all of it. And it works every time because that's I think the more beautiful way to do most anything is to just tap in, see why we're feeling the way we're feeling or why we're doing what we're doing, and then we're able to get into that mask a little bit like, okay, I see this now. Now, what can I do to change this? And that is when we tap into the
mm,
masculine of like,
mm,
okay, I need to wake up at this time. I need to meal prep on Sundays. These are more doing type of actions, which is more masculine, but it's hard to get there until we've gone through the feminine of like, well, why am I being this person?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely don't want to downplay like action and accountability
Mhm.
because those are essential elements. You can't like flow your way. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe some people can. I don't know. I know there is a push to more like intuitive movement and eating, but I think having the structure is super important to flow within. We talk about this all the time. But yeah, that all sounds really beautiful. It's funny, when I wanted to learn how to weightlift a few years ago, because yoga was like overstretching me pretty much, and I needed to
Mhm.
support my joints better. I looked for like the nicest trainer I could find. I was like, I want a woman trainer. I want somebody who's not going to yell at me. But like, given that circumstance, like I'm going to work my ass off,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
just don't
Yeah.
yell at me to do it, or I'm
Yeah.
gonna not want to.
Yeah, totally. It's basically an individual basis, and everyone's different. Everyone learns different. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, it's at the end of the day, as long as we're moving our body in a way that's challenging and also making us feel good, you're going to get results. It's just, but again, we can't change the body without changing the mind. So always start with the mind. Always.
Mm, I love that. I like really, oh my gosh, where were you like 4 years ago? No, this is amazing and needed in so many different ways. I feel like, and even you being able to like step into this space, have this type of approach, you're like gonna empower other people to like do the same because you're getting the results and it's just like deeper and more connected and really allowing us, like Lauren said, to like have our own experience and be okay with that. I love, love, love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just thank you for all you do, and thanks for sharing your process with us and your story. I think it'll be really inspiring and motivating for our listeners. So we really appreciate it. It's motivating for me because I've been like a little inconsistent the last month with my workouts, but now I'm like, okay, gonna get that structure back.
Yeah. Yeah, it again, give yourself the grace and knowing that it's not about being perfect. It's
Mm,
just about making progress and doing what you can, with what you have. So if today you have 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes. Tomorrow you have 75 minutes, perfect. Like, but it doesn't need to be the same. It doesn't need to be um this crazy approach that I think a lot of us think I have to cut out this food group. I have to train 7 days a week. I have to, it's like, no, you don't. Actually, I've worked with over
Mm,
600 women and I can attest to this. I've had well over 10,000 hours in this space, which is going to make me an expert in this space. So I can tell you, no, you don't need to do that. You just need to follow a plan that works for you. And sometimes that plan looks different every day.
Well, since you talked about how many women you've helped so far, how
Yeah.
can our listeners find you and work with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is following me on Instagram. My Instagram is iamkenyamarie_. That's the easiest way. We do have a site, beyondthephysical.club. It is under reconstruction right now. We might be moving it. So for now, I don't know when this will be released. You can check it, but easiest way is just sending me a message. I personally respond to everyone. So I don't have VAs or assistants or anyone else in my account. I like having that connection with my followers and friends. And so I always, always, always welcome you to like shoot me a message right when you follow me saying, hi, I'm so and so. I heard you from this podcast. And yeah, I love just having those connections with people. So
Thank you.
perfect. We have one last question. Will you be our bestie?
yes, I love it. I love it. Absolutely.
Perfect. Put you in our little
Yes.
collection.
Yes.
This has been very inspiring and eye-opening and like even motivational for me. I know, Lauren, you were feeling that too. We really appreciate you being here and all the wisdom that you shared with us. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Kenya.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I love what you guys have put together here. So I'm excited for your listeners to hear this one. I'm excited to go back and listen to all the other ones too. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kenya. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us for this incredible episode. If you loved it, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and tell all your besties about us.
You can also connect with us on Instagram at yourspiritualbestiespodcast, and be sure to say hello and share your thoughts about the episode. Love you, bestie. Talk soon.